All right. Once again, welcome, family. You know what we're doing? We're literally just killing some time. So while we are doing this, while we're waiting for everybody else to log in, if you have looked at this recipe and you have some questions, now's a great time to ask, and I'll answer you directly. Also, if maybe you have to substitute, this recipe called for some specialty ingredients like sesame oil, and I'll go over all of them in some oyster sauce. I personally didn't have oyster sauce, so I'm substituting with hoisin. But if you yourself need to substitute, you can let me know, right? If you have questions about the substitution and how it affects the dish, this is a great time to interject. It may be something that we're going to want to share with the whole class. So just let me know. All right. And we're a reminder, once again, if you have a question, you have to come off of mute and you have to speak it. If you type it, I won't get it just because my assistant is multitasking today. My lovely wife is multitasking. So if you have any questions, please come off mute, talk to me directly, and let's get it. All right. So, and by that chance, if anybody just wants to say hello, just because you feeling that way, you can just say hi too. I like that as well.
Hi, Chef. It's Frederica.
Hey, Rodrigo.
I'm allergic to sesame oil. What's a good substitute?
Just regular oil. Just regular vegetable oil or canola oil is perfect.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited
too. It's good to hear your voice. How are you doing? How's everything been?
Praise God, all is well.
Facts. Oh, that's what's up, man. All right. Any other questions? And that was a good one if you're allergic to sesame oil. That's a really good one. All right. Family, it is now 2:05. That means we are going to begin. So, and we're recording, which I believe. So once again, if you miss any part of this or if you want to see it again, go to YouTube, Chef Culture. This will be uploaded and Charnel will have a copy so you can watch it again. My name is Chef Chad Cherry. It is my pleasure to be here with you. I have missed y'all. It's been a few months, but now we're back in it. We're doing something light and healthy for the spring, right? So we wanted to show something with a lot of vegetables. We wanted to show something with some flavor. We're getting some meat in it. And this is going to take a couple of people outside of their normal lane, which is good. We are going to do an Asian beef stir fry. And I sent a recipe this time because I wanted to do it a little more traditionally. So I want to show you some of the secrets that make your favorite restaurant, Chinese restaurant, your favorite restaurant. So with that being said, let us start with going over our ingredients. And then we're going to talk about the recipe, and then we're going to dive right in. Okay, once again, I'm Chef Chad Cherry, and Chef Culture is the business. Let's get it going. So looking over to our ingredient section, and I'll close my toolbox lid. Trusty Dusty over here. All right. Starting from left to right, because that makes more sense. We have baking powder and cornstarch. Okay. I get baking powder or baking soda. I may have done that wrong because I am that guy. It's supposed to be baking soda. We're going to get that fixed. Okay. So if you have baking soda, I grabbed the wrong thing. That happens, even the chefs, right? This is baby bok choy. Okay, bok choy is like a cabbage. It's a leafy vegetable. We love it. Really good. Very flavorful. This just sauteed with some garlic and some oil. Fire. Peppers. It said red and yellow pepper. I found a striped one, and I always like my green. I just like those anyway. All right. Ginger. We're gonna use some fresh ginger. Some snow peas or snap peas. Right. Some portobello mushrooms. And before we get to our sauces, also have some baby corn, right? Just because it looks about right. You gotta understand, when we're making a dish, a part of making a dish is making sure that it has all of the textures and the colors, but also all of the proper aesthetics, okay? So things like this is something that I don't know if we were to go to Asia, they would actually use this, but in America, this has become associated with stir fry. So we're gonna use some of the baby corn. Now for sauces, I have a couple on the table and the recipe calls for particular ones, but I always, I flex, I add in a little something. Soy sauce, I use low sodium soy. That's me. They say light and dark soy. I I have not really seen a light or a dark. I'm sure we could have found one, but I just like low sodium and try to cut out some of the salt. That's my personal preference. Sesame oil, which is also a really nice oil. Why it's called sesame is because it's flavored. It's with sesame, which gives it a particular aroma. And that aroma invokes the thought of Chinese food. So remember, with food, you're going to see it, then you're going to smell it, then you're going to taste it. So taste is the third thing. So sesame oil is great for aroma. However, I know we have one of my ladies, Frederica, who has an allergy. So if you do not have to use the sesame oil. Okay, you can use regular vegetable oil. And then they call for oyster sauce. I'm not a big fan of that flavor. So I'm subbing in hoisin, which is like a sweet garlic, fire, amazing sauce. I use this on everything, and I'm putting in a little bit of rice wine vinegar because I like a little tang. All right, now and here's why. If you've ever gone somewhere and had pot stickers and you know the sauce that they give, you notice it's a little sweet and tangy. That's one of my favorite kind of sauces. And all that is the vinegar, the hoisin, the soy sauce, and a little bit of sugar. And it's an amazing sauce. So that's why I have these here, because I just like that flavor. Okay. So those are ingredients outside of our beef. Okay, which I already have in a bowl. So do me a favor. If you have not taken your beef out of the package, let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and pull your beef out of a package, put it into a bowl, or put it on your cutting board. It's going to go back into the bowl. This is just, they call for flank steak. I literally just went to the store. I got one of the steaks that was looking like it was on sale because we do that. And it looked good. It was a good cut. It was not very fatty. So that's what we worked with. Okay. Pull that out. And the first thing we have to do is prepare our beef. So let me turn back on my computer over here. And I'm going to tell you how they like to prepare the beef. So we have to start by cutting it. And I just want to pause for a second. If anybody needs a minute, remember, if you need something in this demo, come off mute, talk to me in my ear directly, and I'll respond back. So I'm going to sharpen my knife. I'm just buying y'all time in case anybody has not fully pulled their beef out of their package. Is anybody behind? Are we all caught up? If you say we're all caught up, we're good to go. All right, no one's saying they're behind. So this is a honing steel, and this is a santofu. So this is a great knife for meat, okay? And the honing steel just sharpens it. All right, let's go over cutting. Meat has a grain, okay? And for this one, we're going to cut against the grain. The grain of the beef is running, that's where, like, when you look at the marbling, it's running crosswise. So we're going to cut thin strips against the grain, which should help make it a little bit softer, okay? Now, a lot of people like to trim that bottom layer of fat. That is up to you. When you cut, do not cut thicker than this. This is about 1 inch. You want them thin because we need it to cook fast. Thin strips, okay? Same thing, same kind of cuts that you would get at the restaurant, thin strips, okay? So does anybody have questions on the cuts? This is gonna take us about, well, at my speed, it's gonna take me just a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions while we cut this up? No, well, not so much, all right. I'm waiting. If the questions come, just chop them in there, just drop them in if they come, okay? Don't worry about it. Well, don't drop them in, say them out loud. Y'all know what this is, man. All right, so this is a part of the prep that always takes a little bit more time, and that's why we call it prep. So once again, we're just cutting into strips. I do all my prep start to finish with you because I want you to see that everything we do is more than possible to do in under an hour. Truthfully, all of the recipes we do, they may be, 30-minute recipes. Some of them are 20-minute recipes. We do them in an hour so we can get those additional details, and I can give you guys a little bit more than I would give somebody else. In a sense, if I was just cooking this, because I like to give background. So I've got 2 more pieces of steak to cut. I want to know, is everybody keeping pace with me? Or we can one person or two people can give me just a yes real quick. Give me some of your energy. We're cutting this beef thin. Are y'all keeping pace? Are we there? Anybody? I'm waiting for you. Y'all are shy today. I see it. It's okay. Y'all gonna feel better after you eat. This is what happens when we come to lunchtime and you gotta wait till 2 instead of 12 to eat. I see it. I'm just messing with y'all. All right. So, like I said, cut the beef thin. We don't want to have thick cuts because you want it to cook a lot faster, okay? Now, what we're gonna do next is called velveting. So we're gonna marinate the beef, and you'll see that in the recipe. That's where we're gonna add in the baking soda and the cornstarch and a few other things. They call this velveting because, like the name insinuates, you're going to give this beef a whole lot of extra flavor, all right, and texture. If you've ever had dry beef, y'all know it's not the best thing. I want to ask, because I didn't mention it in our ingredients, you see this special ingredient I have over here. You see on this bowl over here, I have some shrimp. Now, those are fully cooked rock shrimp. That was a last minute addition because in my house, that shrimp is going to make this dish go a lot further. I know when the kids go to dig in, they're going to be going in. Shrimp and beef, that's a winner. Winner, chicken dinner. Well, shrimp dinner. They'll see what I did there, though. That's what my kids call a dad joke. Don't judge me, all right? Don't judge me. All right, so last piece of beef. Now we're going to get to the velveting process. And I am going to also talk to you about contamination. So this knife and this cutting board are contaminated. We're going to move it so that we don't potentially cross-contaminate other surfaces. In your kitchen, you can go ahead and just do that, wash your hands. I've got a couple of Lysol wipes, so I'm gonna pull one out and I'm just gonna wipe my hands real quick so we can keep moving over here. This is just me, that works, fast sanitation, all right? So make sure, no cross-contamination. Now for the velveting part, in the bowl, you're gonna marinate the beef, okay? And it says marinate, but this is the technical term is velveting, okay? We're going to take, in the top part of your instructions, we're going to take the meat, we're going to take the baking soda, not powder, the cornstarch and some water, okay? And a little bit of vegetable oil. And we're gonna do that. Now, it does not say season the meat. The Westerner in me wants to season meat as it marinates because I know that the liquid will help it combine and really taste good. But what we're going to do is we're gonna follow a recipe per instructions and we're gonna figure out how this comes out. Now, if it don't come out exactly right, guess who is seasoning their meat beforehand next time? This guy, all right? Cornstarch. If you're not a heavy cornstarch user, cornstarch is great as a thickener. So most of the Asian sauces we get, they come with cornstarch instead of flour. It makes like a gelatin. So Jello, think cornstarch, right? Remember, if you have any questions, put it in. And it says a teaspoon of cornstarch. I'm using about 2. I'm using a half tablespoon, and that's because I've got a little more beef than the 12 ounces that is required. So if you got a little bit more, you can use a little bit more, right? So put the cornstarch in. You don't want to overuse this. So if it says like a teaspoon, I use a half of a tablespoon. You don't want to overuse it because it does have a taste. And that taste can get you in trouble. We don't want that, right? Let's go with baking soda. This says 1/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm going to use about 1/2 of a teaspoon, okay? Because once again, I have a little bit more. Baking soda is a part of, it's gonna help this react, right? There's gonna be a chemical reaction that happens in here that helps to velvet the beef. Once again, don't use too much because they all have a reaction and have a taste, okay? Now, I wanna say for anybody just joining us, if you're here late, remember, we're gonna send this to Charnel. We're gonna put this up. You can catch it on YouTube at Chef Culture or Charnel. We'll have a copy of this for you to review. Now it says a little bit of oil and just plain vegetable oil, right? It says 2 teaspoons. I'm just gonna squirt, I know about 2 teaspoons, okay? And lastly, very little water. 2 teaspoons. We're gonna use about a tablespoon because I got more, oops. Yep. However, the water's not gonna hurt it. So if you go overboard on any ingredient, the water is just about fine. Now it says to mix. So it's coated. So you wanna make sure that as you're mixing, and I'm gonna hold this up, that really it's that cornstarch, it's that baking soda, really mix it. Don't play with the mix, don't play with the mix, don't play with the, that's my little remix. Y'all know what we do out here. Chef Chad Cherry on the mic. Okay, anyway, I'm done with that. Do you see that there's a sheen? It looks like there's like, it's coated. And that's what we want, velveteen. So this, they say 15 to 30 minutes, right? We're gonna do about it in between. We'll probably go for about 15 to 20 minutes. But we're gonna sit this, we're gonna let this go, and we're going to prep our veggies and make our other sauce. Before we prep our veggies, since we are already sauce, okay? All right, I am a saucy guy. My kids will tell you that. See, look, they're telling me no, but I know what I am. Clear bowl. I'm just gonna use a fork to mix, right? We're gonna mix our ingredients. You're gonna have some sesame oil. You're gonna have soy sauce, right? I'm using hoisin, so if you don't have oyster sauce, you can use hoisin. And it calls for water, and this is gonna be our sauce. Actually, it calls for beef broth. I don't believe in buying beef broth. I'm gonna cook something with beef. Let that beef flavor go in. I don't have to buy beef broth. I'm gonna use water. We'll be fine. All right, that's what we do. Okay. So this does not call for a lot. The most thing it calls for is the half cup of water or beef broth, right? That's the biggest ingredient. So let's go ahead and let's do about a half right here. Now I'm freestyling because that's what I do. Okay. Right. This is when I freestyle, I follow recipe to what my mind tells me it should be. I always talk to my wife. I say, look, you gotta feel it. And she used to be like, what do you mean? I'm like, hey, just season it till you feel it. And she'd be like, dude, if you don't stop telling me, and what happens is you get to a place where you have to trust yourself. So throughout this series, as we've been talking, I always want you guys to trust yourself, right? So as you're doing, interact with your ingredients, like this sesame oil, I'm gonna smell it. I'm gonna interact with it. I'm gonna think, I really like that, so I want a little bit more, or I don't like that, so I want a little bit less. Right? I use about a tablespoon and a half because I personally like this a lot. Vinegar. Today, we're not going to go with so much. So if you don't have a spoon handy, I use caps all the time. Use about a half a capful. Sounds about right. We just want a little bit of the flavor, so we'll drop that in. And remember, with things like vinegar, a little bit goes a long way. So a dab will do you. Now, soy sauce. Oh, I like that. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna squeeze in. Okay, so I probably put about 3 tablespoons, I'd say, of soy sauce. And I'm gonna match that with hoisin, about 3 tablespoons, okay? And I have my squeeze method. Now, the last thing I'm going to add, which the recipe doesn't call for, but I know purposely, like it's really good and helps us out, is I'm going to add about this much of the organic cane sugar. So this isn't even a full teaspoon, okay? I know what that does to my flavor. Let's take a fork or a whisk if you have one, but I figure a lot of people have forks, and let's beat that together, right? Now we know oil and water don't necessarily mix. The sugar does kind of act as a little bit of an emulsifier, but don't worry, we'll beat that together. We've got a nice sauce. Because this sauce is not like everything in here is cooked, if you wanted to taste it, you could. But we're gonna put that right off to the side, hold that for later. Now, I have a question. Does anybody have a question for me before we move on to the veggies? And if so, come off mute, talk to me, and I'm gonna talk back to you, okay? So this is your opportunity, if you have questions, to come off mute and talk to me over here, all right? You can just take a second, just let me know. Okay. All right. I'm gonna give it a 30-second pause. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna assume that means we're all on target. So once again, we're making a beef stir fry. To catch up any of our latecomers, what we have done so far is we have velveted our beef and we're letting it marinate. So velvet refers to the texture. There's baking soda, cornstarch, right? Water, and no seasoning in here. Just the beef. We cut it into strips, we velvet it, we're letting it sit. This is gonna help with the texture of it, okay? We made our sauce. Our sauce here is water or beef stock, sesame oil, okay? Soy sauce, and I use hoisin sauce and vinegar. It does call for oyster sauce in the recipe, so if you're following it traditionally, go for it. And then I added just a little bit of sugar because I know how that's gonna bring out that flavor. Now we're gonna go to our vegetables. We have a couple of different veggies. We're gonna start with our bok choy, okay? Bok choy, they look like little cabbages. They have a very mild flavor and they are delicious. And this as just a simple vegetable is amazing. Yes, sir. Okay. This is a simple vegetable, is very, very amazing, right? So if you want to prepare this at home, what you do is we're going to start by cutting off the ends. Okay. You can discard those. And then I always tell people I like to cut it in half. All right, we're gonna put this in a bowl. Okay, so cut off the end, right? Cut it in half. This makes a pretty cross section. Okay, cut off the ends, cut them in half. Okay, now for presentation, serving it just like this is probably one of the best things for presentation. However, we're gonna move a little bit differently. I wanna show you how to get this ready for your dish. So I'm gonna leave this piece because I'm gonna need that for my final presentation. And these other ones, we're gonna come back and we're going to rough chop, right? So when you cut these, cut all the way to the stems, and you're gonna notice there's a little bit of, there's always a little bit of dirt, right? There's always a little bit of dirt in your veggies. Sometimes there's other things. That's a bug. Yep. That is why you always, and I'm gonna say this again, always clean your vegetables. Okay? So let's cut them. Let's make sure there's no more surprises in there. And I'm gonna show you how to clean this thoroughly before we cook it, because we wanna make sure that everything is clean. Now remember, bugs are a part of nature, so that's just, you know, it is what it is. In some parts of the world, they would call that extra protein. I'm not that guy. Just saying. That's not what we do. No, no, no. All right, so put all of this into a bowl, okay? So leaves and stalks, take some of your water, pour it over top. Let's cover this in water, right? We're gonna soak this in water. We're not gonna season it. The purpose of soaking is it's going to allow you to get more of that dirt out of there than if you just try to, you know, if you just tried to wash it alone. And I'll show you at the end of this what I mean by that. So while this is soaking, we're gonna move this over. We're gonna prep our other stuff. We've got some peppers, okay? Let's move on to those. So with the peppers, you already know what I'm gonna say. Cut your butts off, okay? Cut your butts off. Cut the bottom, cut the top, okay? And then we're going to take it and we're going to cut out the inside. So this inside, these seeds have to come out. So we're gonna insert the tip of the knife. We're going to disconnect all of these seeds. Now you wanna do this flat on a cutting board, like so. I did it that way just to show you, to showcase. Now, when you cut it out, that whole seed core, it comes right out, okay? And then we'll cut out these seeds because we don't want them. So we're gonna let those go, all right? Now you have half of a pepper, which you can use for many things. So once again, back to the top, family. Cut your butts off, right? Top and bottom. Now I need to also put these into water because even though I'm going to use them for something else, they still need to soak and clean and make sure we get all that stuff out of there. With your top of your stem, you can take your thumb and you can poke from the bottom, kind of like push it through. You get your stem out, right? put that off to the side. Matter of fact, the tops and bottoms of each ones, just put off to the side, okay? Now here, remember, same thing, we have to get this seed core out. So take the knife, cut up. I'm turning my whole body so you can see what I'm doing. I'm cutting through the connectors, okay? And then once I do that, this one comes right out, all the seeds, gone, okay? Now what we gotta do is it's still round, so we still got a problem. We gotta make this flat. Anything round must be flat. True story, all facts. Anything round must be flat. Cut it in half, cut it in half. Now, once again, throughout this process, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to jump in there, please just do it. Just jump in there, right? This is Nike right now. Say it. Come off mute and say it to me. Interact. That helps me out, okay? Now we're going to cut slivers of this. I like to cut with this part down. So the really waxy side, that goes on your cutting board. This little porous side, that's the side you want to cut so your knife doesn't slip. And I like to cut with it laying down. If you have trouble with that, you can literally stand it up and just cut, right? This isn't culinary school. There is no right or wrong way to do this. We just need slivers, okay? So it's up to you to choose what works for you. So my job as your chef today is to show you, educate you, show you different techniques, show you stuff that's gonna make your life in the kitchen easier. You see that? That's always an option. You can do that. Or you can do my favorite, which is the lean with it, rock with it technique. If you notice, my knife never leaves the cutting board. It's always a forward and a back. Lean with it, rock with it, lean with it, rock with it. And you get this whole repetition that allows you to get into cutting bliss. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna cut some more. And then we are almost done with our peppers and onions, right? We're almost already prepped for this. And that's what takes the most time with this whole dish is the prep. And you see how smoothly we're going through this prep, y'all? Man, y'all gonna be champs. You all gonna be pros by the time we're done with this. By the end of the show, everybody gonna know. All right. Okay, so now we have our peppers. These additional peppers here, right, the tops, I always like to take them and put them into a Ziploc bag and put them into my refrigerator because later on, breakfast or another meal, I'm gonna need some peppers, right? And now I don't have to cut a whole one. I can just use these. They're already ready for me. I just need a little bit. Peppers and eggs, salmon and eggs. I made it the other day, phenomenal. Okay, so we have our peppers here. Let's go ahead and slide that onto that cutting board. Okay, we have our snap peas, which don't take a lot of work. So I'm gonna come back to those because those are already ready. But our mushrooms, let us discuss the mushrooms. We are using baby bellas, baby portobellas. And yes, you can buy these cuts. You don't have to buy them whole, but I wanted to work with them whole today. That's just me being me. Now, a lot of times when you see mushrooms, people look at you and they say, how do you clean them? Because when I take the mushrooms out of here, at the bottom, and this is why I'm not going to tip the whole package over. I'm using my fingers. At the bottom of this package, there's going to be some dirt because mushrooms come from the dirt. So don't tip it over, right? And what you don't want to do is take the mushrooms and run them under water. You don't want to wet the mushrooms. They're going to absorb all that water. So you can take a colander or a regular bowl. Just get a little shake it. Hey, I had a jumper. There's always one that wants to escape its fate. That's okay. We're going to leave it. You can shaky, right? Okay. And then with the shaky, what you'll notice is, yep, you have already shaken off most of the dirt. And I'm going to show you what is left in this bowl. And it's not a lot. This is surface dirt. None of this stuff will kill you. But look at that. See what I'm saying? Right there? Yeah. Okay. We're going to put
Chef,
this off to the
this is
side.
Charnel.
Hey, Charnel.
I was just told an employee said they were in the waiting room, so I was just wanting to see if you saw anyone in the waiting room still. I'm sorry.
2
Thank
seconds. Don't say sorry. That's what we do.
you.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So let me go back. All right, Charnel, thank you for that. Okay,
No
family.
problem.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
literally come off of a speaker and come off of mute and tell me, okay? And then I want to, I just want to make sure that you're in. And I'm going to go over everything we did real quick. Very easy, okay? So I see there's a movie happening. I just want to double check.
Lost a little bit of recording.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anybody new? Anybody new? All right. Once again, if you're new, make sure that you come off of mute and you physically tell me. All right. Tell me if you're new. And I'm going to go back over where we left off at. Okay. So let's start with the dish and then I'll catch us up for all my new people. So I will say this, if you just got in, if you're in the waiting room, we normally start about 5 minutes late and then we get going. So if it's 2, we're gonna start about 2:05, but don't worry, you didn't miss anything. Charnel will have a full copy of this recording and it will also be available on YouTube at Chef Culture and Culture with a K. My name is Chef Chad Cherry. I'm your host. If this is the first time of you being with me, welcome family. This is how we roll. Today we are doing an Asian beef stir fry and I'm just gonna breeze through what we've done so we can keep going, but we're making really good time. So that's the good part. So all my family that has been on since the beginning of this call, just bear with us. We got new family members, we got cousins. We gotta get the cousins up to speed. So the first thing we did is we took our beef and we started a process called velveting. So we start by slicing the beef into small slices, okay? Then we're going to add water, cornstarch, which is a thickening agent, baking soda, okay? And we're gonna mix it really well till it's all coated. And we're gonna let this sit for 15 to 30 minutes. In our case, it's already been sitting for about 15. We're gonna give it a few more because we're going over. That's what it should look like when it's cooked, when it's cut and coated. And this helps with the texture. This gives that beef a velvety texture, what you're used to seeing and feeling and experiencing at the restaurants. Okay, so this is called velveting. All right. Once again, remember, if you need to say something to me, please come off mute and say it to me directly. That way I can hear you. Next thing we did was we made our sauce. Now for the recipe, the sauce calls for 4 ingredients. It's going to call for sesame oil, soy sauce, oyster sauce, and beef stock or water. I added 2 things. I added hoisin because I'm more of a hoisin man than an oyster man. That's a preference situation. This is my jump off, okay? And I added a little bit of rice wine vinegar, which is a mild form of Japanese Asian vinegar. Really, really dope, right? Rice wine vinegar. And then I added in about a half a teaspoon of the organic cane sugar because that sets it off. I put it into my bowl. I use my fork. I got to work in it. Whisking, combine everything. That's our sauce that we're gonna put on our dish later on. And I use regular water. I didn't use beef stock. I was saying I don't believe in buying or paying for beef stock because, yeah, why? I got beef. And as it cooks, it's gonna make stock. So why pay for extra? Trust me, y'all do what y'all do. Next, we had vegetables, right? We are currently on our mushrooms, which I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna come back to. But we started with our bok choy. So bok choy looks like this, okay? And it's in water. It looks like a baby cabbage. What I did was I cut the bottoms off, cut it in half, and then we slice it up into smaller slices. So when you slice it up, you end up with stems and stalks, right? And then you put it in water. So that is submerged in water. You want to have enough water to submerge it. And I'll show you why very, very soon, okay? And actually that can use a little bit more water to totally submerge it. And then we'll pull it out and I'll show you why in a second, okay? So that was our bok choy. Next were our bell peppers. I used a green bell pepper and then I had a bell pepper that was striped red and yellow. Isn't that pretty? Sometimes you get lucky and find striped peppers. This was a red and yellow pepper. All that means is that that pepper was picked in the middle of maturity. So as peppers mature, they change color. Need to know, right? Cool. So we have our peppers. Now we're on to our mushrooms. No, sir. My son is hilarious. He's here in the audience. He's like, am I going to change color? I was like, nah, don't worry about it. We get mushrooms. I got whole baby bellas, and they came in a package. What I instructed was to open the package and to pull them out individually, but not to dump the package because the bottom of the package has dirt. If you ever buy whole mushrooms, you'll notice they come a little dirty. So I said you can get a colander, which is it's a bowl with holes in it, and you can put the mushrooms in and shake out a lot of it, or you can just use a regular bowl. And so just from shaking it, look at all that came off. Okay, now even though I've got all of that off of there, that's just, and this is surface dirt. Like I said, it won't kill you. Even though I've got all of that off of there, I still put them on a towel and I started literally patting. Right? I'm patting, because what you don't want to do is you do not want to wet these. Okay? Washing them in water is something you don't want to do for mushrooms because you waterlog them. Right? We're going to mess up the delicate flavor. And all we want to do is get that surface dirt off of there, and we're going to cut them. Now look at that. Easy to see, right? There's a lot of surface dirt. Okay? Now, once again, none of this will kill you, and we are going to cook this at a high enough heat to kill bacteria. But if COVID has taught us anything, it is that we should be more careful. So what my man say, got to be more careful, got to be more careful. So with our mushrooms now, I'm going to slice them. I just like the regularity of being able to slice my mushrooms instead of having them sliced for me. Plus, I feel they give a fresher taste when we cut them whole. I'm just going to take the tip of my knife, stand them up, and just come through. And this is a fun exercise. This is cool. If you get a longer knife, you can really play with this. This is a good chance to learn some knife control. Please do not cut your fingers yet. It sounds like somebody's hammering something. Please do not cut your fingers. If you need to go slow, go slow. Take your time, right? For me, I just like to have practice my knife control. I just think it's cool. Now, if I had my long fillet knife, whoa, there have been some demos. I took a whole thing of mushrooms, and there's literally video of me going, da, da, da. It's so cool. It's just me being me. That's just some chef stuff, right? But we're gonna cut all of these mushrooms up. We're gonna get ready to use them. And then we have one more vegetable to add, all right? Okay, one more veggie to add. One more veggie. All right. Now, when you do this, mushrooms do tend to fly everywhere, and you're getting irregular sizes, irregular size cuts. That's okay. That's just the authenticity of it. That's the freshness of it. We like using whole ingredients. All right. And our last veggie that we have to work with is a little bit of ginger. Okay, all my Caribbeans, I know you ain't even had to go buy ginger because you had it in the house already. All right, because we know ginger tea settle the belly and get you right? Plus ginger fights off cold and other things. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut. We're just going to cut off a little piece, right? So I'm going to start right here, cut off the bottom, right? Ginger is one of those ingredients that I'm going to tell you straight up, a dab will do you. You do not need a lot. This is actually a lot of ginger for this dish. So I'm gonna cut, I'm trimming it. So you can take a vegetable peeler and just peel it down. I'm just using a knife. I'm cutting 4 corners off. Okay, so I'm actually cutting a lot of the ginger away. So if you don't wanna cut away all of that ginger, take a vegetable peeler and actually peel it. Now I've got the end of this. Since this was at the bottom, this little piece is a little dry. So I want to cut that off, right? It still has flavor, but it's a little dry. What I want is the stuff that is really, it's got that smell, but it's slightly wet to the touch. That's the fresh ginger. That's the good stuff. So now we're just going to take it, right? We're literally just going to slice it. Once again, a dab will do you. If you really like ginger, which I know some people do, you can use way more. For me, I'm okay. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drop the ginger into our sauce and let that kind of soak up some of that flavor and rehydrate a little. That's just a Chef Chad jump off, okay? So everybody see that? I wanna know, are we all good to go? Are we all right about here? If you can come off mute and tell me, you can say yes, or if I don't hear anything, then I know that I've got to I know that I can keep going, matter of fact, if I don't hear anything.
You're doing good.
I love that, thank you. Y'all don't know how good your voices make me feel. I'm used to doing this live thing, man. This COVID is messing with my mojo. You know, we get the whole live situation where all of us are in a room somewhere and we're doing this live, and then at the end of it, I get you to taste it. I love that. I can't say that I'm totally mad at virtual, but I do like the live. So these are they're called snow peas, but a lot of people call them snap peas, right? This is more the Asian style of flat green bean. You don't have to do much. That's already prepared. I'm putting that in a bowl. I'm gonna add in our peppers to a bowl, and you don't have to do this. This is just gonna allow me to control it. You can segment everything on your cutting board and then work from there if you like. Nature is trying to join the party. No, you can't go. All right, this ain't for you, Nature. Keep it moving. Now we have one other ingredient. That is our baby cut corn. Okay, this comes in. These are normally found in cans here. All right, and like I said, I don't know how traditional the baby corn is, but in the US, this has become synonymous with Asian food. So we're gonna use it. We're gonna pour off the water. We don't want that liquid, okay? Pour it off, pour your corn right into there. Now, if that corn is too big for you, you can cut it. This is pretty long, right? So you can cut this down to size if you like. Totally up to you. Totally your call. All right, now notice 2 bell peppers, 1 bag of snow peas, 1 can of corn, and we have almost a half of a bowl of veggies. It does a lot. This yields a lot, not expensive, yields a lot. Now we're on to the favorite part, which is cooking, okay? So in the recipe, which I'm pulling back up because I just want to double check, so I don't just cook this to my thing. Matter of fact, you know, we all good. We're gonna go ahead and everybody, let's turn your skillets onto high, okay? In the wok, I think it wants you to flash the beef first, and then after you flash the beef, I believe that it wants you to, then do the veggies, all right? And then recombine the beef with the sauce. So that's kind of what we're gonna do. I'm not looking at the recipe, I'm freestyling because that's what chefs do. All right, so work with me. I'm going to turn this, okay, onto high, and I'm using a wok. You can use a saute pan, right? Saute pan is low in size, something you can saute with, and that will work for you as well. I just love the wok because I have it, and this is, if we're doing a traditional dish, why not? Now, on my table as well, you're gonna see some shrimp. Guess what I'm gonna do with those? Yeah, okay. That's just my silly moment. I got the shrimp for the kids, and I've got my seasoning here. So I'm gonna use my steak seasoning, which is my blend. The recipe calls for salt and pepper and garlic. I already have a ton of garlic in here. I have other things. This sauce adds a lot of flavor. So if you are looking for lower sodium, don't add extra seasoning, just use your sauce to provide your flavor, okay? And if you notice, this dish is great and light because it's healthy, no carbs, protein and veggies all day. So while we're waiting for our wok to get hot, let's just discuss what we're gonna talk about here. Our wok needs to be literally, or your pan, it needs to be what we call white hot. So you'll see little tips of white smoke coming, okay? And nature is trying to get in, y'all. So I have to do some, I gotta do some reconnaissance over here. Keep nature out of my business, all right? You're gonna see little bits of white smoke, and that is going to indicate that you're, I'm just gonna cut this till I'm ready. And because for people that can see this piece of bok choy, this is actually going to be my plate garnish. All right. So before my wok gets fully hot, before I add anything else in, just a little bit of spray. Let's sear that. I'm just showing you plate garnish. So while y'all are waiting for your wok to get hot, I'm working on my my finished product. And the chef in me says I always got to have something. So never, ever, ever touch a hot pan. I don't have feeling in my fingertips. So I'm down here. Now, if you're curious as to how I lost the feeling in my fingertips, it's from burning it off. Y'all don't want to do that. You don't want that life unless you're going to become a chef, right? So I sprayed it, hit it with a little bit of oil, right? Now I'm going to take it. Let me get a little bit more color on it. There we go. That's beautiful. It's this other side, right? Flip it over. And this is also while my skillet's getting hot. This is going to look beautiful. It's going to look slightly really colorful. That is going on my plate, right? This is going to be the backdrop of what I do. Now my wok is fire hot. Let's drop a little bit of oil in. You always add your oil after the wok is hot, never before. Let's drop our beef in. Okay. Put all your beef in here. Okay. Now, the beef is thinly sliced. So we're going to cook this for about 60 seconds. What you need to do is you need to as single layer your beef as possible. What I mean by single layer is you want to let as much of your beef touch the hot skillet, hot surface as possible because we need it to cook. So just work it around, work it around. When it starts to stick, you can add just a little bit more oil. And we're going to go slightly longer than the 60 seconds that the recipe says. Even though we know we're going to cook this again, we're going to go slightly longer. I'm actually going to go for about 2 to 3 minutes, right? Okay. And time-wise, I'm getting tight on time. So I just want to show you. I always like to lift it up to show you what we're doing. Okay. Now, normally when I'm doing a dish, I always tell you that we want to char it. So I say, don't move it. Don't stir it around too much. Just let it char. For this dish, that is not what they recommended. So we're going to go traditional. We're going to move this around and we're going to cook the whole thing. And I've got to turn my fan up to help keep nature out of the picture, literally. That's how you know the food is good. When nature come around like, yo, cut me in, chef. Cut me in, chef. Let me know what we're doing. Now it's going to stick again. So I'm going to add just a little bit more oil. And this is okay. The goal in my first 3 minutes is to brown all of the pieces. I don't want red. Now this doesn't have to be fully cooked right now, but it's got to be brown, okay? Later on, we'll fully cook it. If you ask why, here's why. If we fully cook this, during the time that it takes us to cook everything else and then add the beef back in, we're going to overcook it. And that is going to make the texture wrong. And that kind of takes away the point of velveting, right? Because velveting, what we did earlier, was all for texture. So that's why right now I'm just working it. I'm working it. I'm working it. I'm working it. This is just me having fun, y'all. Okay. And it is about time. My son is telling me that my working it is not working it. Okay. Y'all, if y'all have kids, y'all know what I'm saying, man. Gotta love them, but they be messing with you all the time. Okay. This is about ready. This is just about, ooh, you see it? It's just about brown everywhere. I got a couple pieces that aren't, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start preheating my other wok. Now in the recipe, it says remove this totally. Once it's done, remove it totally and then put the veggies into the bottom of this pan, all right? And actually, you know what? We're gonna follow the recipe, and I know why, because this pan is building sauce. That's why they don't want to use two vehicles. Remember, if I move this from a hot surface, it's still going to continue to cook. That's called carryover heat. Okay, I'm confident that my veggies, my beef is just about done. So let's move this over here to this wok. Okay. Now in the bottom of my wok, I have a lot of leftover bits. That's all flavor. So let's build on this flavor right now, right? Let's add a little bit, just a touch more oil. That's about a half of a tablespoon. Let's add our veggies that take longest to cook. Our peppers and our snap peas, okay? Now here, I am going to season. I'm going to use about a half of a tablespoon, right? Not a lot of seasoning. I just need a little something on our veggies, okay? Now remember what I was saying. If you are one of those people that's trying to go low sodium, your sauce has everything you need in it. Don't season, all right? Let these veggies cook. This is truly about 60 seconds, okay? Because we still want our veggies to have some crunch. We don't want to cook everything out. And to that end, let's go ahead and dip out our bok choy, all right? Actually, so in the bottom of the bowl is the leftover dirt, and there's a little bit more that seeps through. If I show you the water, you'll see what I'm talking about. The water is colored, it's dirty. That's why you soak. That is exactly why you soak it, as opposed to just washing it. Make a little hole in the center of your pan, add your bok choy in. Now the leftover water does more than just clean it, right? The leftover water also will act as it's gonna add a little bit of moisture to this mix. So that's gonna act as like a steaming agent. So that's gonna do a lot right there in and of itself. And this is gonna get happy. And at this point, you wanna add in your mushrooms, right? So you saw the life cycle of the veggies here. We added in the vegetables that cook the longest: peppers, snap peas. Then we added in bok choy, and on top we put mushrooms. And now we're gonna go back and add another half a teaspoon of seasoning into here, okay? And we're gonna let this sit for 30 seconds. Then we're gonna stir. Once it stirs, once it's sat and it's cooked long enough, that's when we're gonna combine and eat, family. Combine and eat. So this is a great opportunity for everybody here. If you have any questions, I'm gonna clean my plate. If anybody, my son's keeping count for me. That's a beautiful son. Thank you, son. If you don't have any questions for me, now is a chance to come off mute and talk to me. All right, I got my 30-second mark. Appreciate you. That's young chef in the building. Y'all don't know. We're teaching him how to be the next, next king of this culinary thing. All right. So no one has asked me a very crucial question. All right. And that question is, aren't those the same tongs that had the beef in it? Yes. So while I'm cooking, that's okay. But now, because I'm getting ready to finish the dish, we want to back away from these tongs because we're not going to have enough time to sanitize them. So for the beginning, this is fine. We're going to recook this. We're going to keep sanitizing it. No biggie. Okay. But you always got to pay attention to those things. Let's get to a spoon and a wok. So your veggies are not going to look fully cooked to you. Okay, that is okay. And that is okay because we want our veggies to have we want them to have some body. We don't want them to be fully cooked, right? So it's okay if they don't look fully cooked to you. That is all right. Let's go ahead. And now let's add in a little bit of our liquid. Okay, this is gonna accelerate the cooking process, right? Because heat is transferred through liquid really easily. So this accelerates the cooking process. Let's stir it all up. Let's make sure it's there, right? Let's make sure everything is touching that. Okay. Now here's where a little patience is gonna take. I'm gonna go ahead. And I'm just gonna let this sit. Okay. I can smell the aroma. And what is gonna be so frustrating for some of my people that are near me is they're gonna smell this and be like, yo, what is that guy cooking and why can't I get some? Oh, this smells incredible, y'all, right? The bottom is heating, it's starting to steam up. We don't wanna touch it. We just wanna let it go, let it go. It smells so freaking amazing right now, family. All right, this is where I wanna add in my shrimp and I wanna add in my beef. This is where we add in the meat. Now, once again, because the shrimp is cooked, that'll absolutely be the last thing. We're gonna fold in our beef right now, make sure that that beef is cooked all the way through first. So now if you don't have a wok, take some of your vegetables out because you need space. If you do have a wok, make a hole in the center to where you see the liquid is already bubbling, right? Liquid's bubbling. Make a hole, because that's the hottest point on our pan. Let's come back. Let's add our beef right into the center, okay? And now, let's cover it up. We're gonna move this around, okay? Now, this works best if you have a gas stove, okay? Because gas is gonna be the hottest. We don't, so what we're going to do is use what we have. Now we're gonna add in a little more of the liquid, okay? Still saving a little bit in reserve, and I'm gonna cover it. We're gonna give this 60 seconds covered, and I wanna ask if there are any questions because the next thing is a plate and taste. And once again, if you have questions, come off mute, talk to me. And if you don't have questions, I'm assuming it's because you're like me and you just really wanna taste it. We are just ready to dig all the way in here. Now, as we're waiting, because we're coming close. Oh, we're still doing okay on time. All right, good. What I like about this the most is how healthy it is. Anytime you're using colorful dishes, right? We always talk about eat by color. Eating by color and eating seasonally mean that you're going to get the most nutrient density out of your dishes. Now, a lot of times when we have chronic health conditions, when we have bellies we can't get rid of, other stuff, a lot of times it's because we're nutrient deficient. I've said it before, but I got to say it again. In America, we are the heaviest nutrient deficient people on the planet, right? Because we all have that little extra, you assume we're good to go health-wise, but we're not, right? We're missing key nutrients because too many of our plates are just brown. They're monotone in color. We don't like the monotone. If you just take food that is colorful and seasonal and you make sure that every plate that you make, every dish that you do has that, two things are going to happen. You will naturally start to lose weight without dieting because you're going to eat less because your body signals that it's full faster because it's nutrients. So that's going to happen just naturally. And second, you will feel better. You'll notice better digestion. You'll notice better other things, which I'm not going to talk about right before we eat, but stuff that goes along with digestion, okay? Got it. You will notice these things happening, right? And the best thing about these dishes too, is we can do a low carb dish that is healthy. Oh, that smells amazing. I just opened it up and it messed up my whole train of thought. But you can do a low carb dish that is healthy, that smells amazing, that gets you where you need to go. And it does not take you any time. I'm gonna go ahead and add the shrimp in right now. Okay, and then we're gonna plate this. Now that I added the shrimp, I'm gonna add the rest of my sauce. We're gonna let this cook again. We're gonna plate this and we're gonna enjoy. No carbs, right? Beef and vegetable stir fry. Oh, your chef has added shrimp because your chef likes to cheat. No, I have kids, they love shrimp. Seafood is a big thing in my house. So now I just need to make sure that it cooks all the way. Even though the shrimp was pre-cooked, so I didn't have to worry about it being raw, you still want to give it, another 60 seconds to 2 minutes, okay? Now, I don't know what my time is because my computer's not telling me time. How close am I to 3 o'clock, y'all? Where am I at? Can someone come off mute and tell me so I can plate for us?
It's 3:02.
I went over. See, what happened was, all right, y'all. If you can stay with me for just 2 more minutes, I want to just go ahead and plate this. I just like to plate a fully finished thing, and then I will let y'all go. But I have to thank you so much for bearing with me and hanging out throughout this process. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. This is always an amazing time for me. And then my kids really appreciate y'all because this is when they get that fancy stuff. So just saying. All right. 30 more seconds. Like I said, we want to make sure that everything hits the right temperature. Covering it is just an easy way to do. In a restaurant, I would have had flame. I mean, those wok pits, flame coming high. My skillet would have been a lot hotter. I would have been able to cook a lot faster. But because I'm using electric, I've got to cover to make sure that we're hitting the right temperatures for food safety purposes. All right. So about 10 more seconds, then we're going to plate and we're done. So in that time, does anybody have any questions for me? Just come off mute and talk to me if you do. If you don't, just hold it on. And remember, this whole video is going to be on YouTube under Chef Culture. And that is Chef Culture with a K. And Charnel will have a copy of this. Oh, this looks phenomenal. Look at that, y'all. Let's get some of this into a plate. Let's get some of this into a plate right here. Let's fill that up. Let's hype that up right there. Get some of that baby corns, all of those mixed vegetables. Let's put it together. Get some of this rock shrimp right on top so we can see it. Oh, yeah. And do you see how much gravy that little bit of sauce created? So this is a perfect dish to serve with rice. Instead, though, we're going to do it just like so. I'm going to clean off the plate. I'm going to present it to everybody. And then we get to go do the best thing in the world. And that is go eat this. So take a look, family. Look at this delicious dish, full of vegetables, full of flavor, super healthy, super clean, super neat. Let's go. Beef and vegetable stir fry, Chef Chad Cherry. I'm with y'all. Any questions, family, before we sign off? Any questions?
All I see is your logo.
You don't see the, hold on.
There we go. You're back.
There we go. There we
Okay.
go.
Now it's recording.
How long have you only seen the logo? Can you see that plate now?
Yes, it looks
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah, man, I'm ready to go in. And I'm sorry, I don't know, my phone might have locked up a little bit, but okay. But y'all have been able to see everything else, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna go enjoy unless there are any questions that I can answer for you.
I agree with your son on the shrimps. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, the shrimp, yeah. He's I know how to get them to eat certain things, and I don't have to put any carbs with this. They see that shrimp, they see that meat, done. They're going in. So you hear him in the background, y'all. It's not for everybody, but for us it's good. So listen, thank you once again. It's been amazing. We're gonna have another class about a month. We're doing them bi-monthly now. If you want to have more stuff, reach out to us. We are here for you and would love to support you any way we can. Charnel, as always, much love. We're signing out. We're going to eat. Hope y'all are enjoying some with us. Till next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.